Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode of the Daily Debate. And today we have two segments in our show. In the first segment, we will be talking about Egypt's exhibition for international aviation. And in the second segment, we will be talking about Egypt's foreign policy. And we will start first with our report on Egypt's International Aviation and Space Exhibition 2024. Let's have a closer look.
Under the patronage of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, the first edition of the Egypt International Aviation and Space Exhibition 2024 is held in New Alamein City from September the 3rd till the 5th at the Al Alamein International Airport. More than 100 countries and over 300 companies and destinations from the largest aircraft manufacturers and space industries around the world are participating in the air show, which is attended by many aviation, space and defense industry experts from all over the world, as well as heads of international and regional organizations concerned with civil aviation. Spearheaded by the Ministry of Defense, Egyptian Air Force, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Egyptian Space Agency and Egypt Air, the event aims to accelerate industrialization, digitalization and globalization in the defense, space and commercial aviation sectors in Egypt and the Middle East. The show will feature aircraft displays, cutting-edge conferences and an exhibition of innovative airspace products and services. Also, a very important show provides an ideal platform to display the large number of different types of aircraft in an open exhibition area. Professional air shows were organized by the elite international aerobatic teams. Ministry of Civil Aviation also prepared for the Egypt International Aviation and Space Exhibition, which took place, and the global event has attracted over 100 countries and more than 300 companies, including major aircraft manufacturers and space industry leaders.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and on the significance of the Egypt's International Aviation and Space Exhibition 2024, we're delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Khaled Youssef, Faculty of Navigation Science and Space Technology, Beni Suef University. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, how do you see the significance of the attendance of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the first edition of Egypt's International Aviation and Space Exhibition 2024?
Yeah, actually, it was a very, very special day today. As His Excellency today witnessed not only air show and demonstration of space capabilities and aviation capabilities of the vendors that was demonstrating their abilities in this field across the world. The good news that the Egyptian presence in terms of manufacturing capabilities and also the carriers like Egypt Air with the new versions of their aeroplanes, in addition to the military side, was actually very promising and very challenging to the situation. It changed the game, actually. So that was for us very, very superior and special day.
Sir, is Alamein International Airport ready to host a great event like this one, the exhibition, and ensure its success?
Yeah. For Al Alamein as a place that all of us witnessed the changes that we have in Egypt in Al Alamein, and this location which is today receiving people from every place for different purposes, especially in the summer time. Actually, the air show that we see, the place, the part of the touristic, in terms of it as a touristic place, actually it plays a vital role for this. But we have to say that it is not only in the air side, but also the part of the let's say the foreign side in terms of the Arabic countries and some of the other European countries that is presenting, that is today presenting their products and their capabilities in this area. Also, they come and witness this. So this is, let's say, a part of a marketing tool, Al-Amin, as a place that receive and accept people from every place, witness what is happening there. So I see it is very important to accept it in such a place.
So would you tell us more about the logistical preparations and facilities offered to accommodate the event and the guests attending the event?
Actually, in terms of the guests you have today in Al-Amin, you have an airport, you have facilities in terms of hosting, hospitality, the part of the activities and entertainment that now characterizing this place. All of these factors represent a good infrastructure for the country to welcome people from every place in it. Let's say, for example, if you see the show that we see this morning, you can see that the presence of a place that can enable such type of air shows through a good infrastructure, a well-established airport for such type of activities. If you back like 5 years ago, you will not find this in this area of the North Coast. So this is a dramatic change in the North Coast, that we have a place that enables such type of acrobats, such type of shows, such type of area or land that can show through a wonderful and let's say a considerable area, such type of wonderful activities and acrobats and shows.
Dr. Khaled, how far has the exhibition offered a great opportunity to showcase Egypt's progress in the aviation field?
Not only in the aviation field, but also in the space field. You can hear about some of the protocols and openings that was opened by the Egyptian EXA, which is the Egyptian Space Agency, in the field of democratization of the space, and having a lot of companies, a big part of them is Egyptian in that part. Today we witness also the presence of some of the organizations, like the Arabic Organization for Military Industries, showing us their capabilities with cooperation with some international names like Dassault in France, showing and demonstrate their capabilities in manufacturing and being a part of the supply chain of such big entities in the world, which means that this type of demonstration makes Egypt a part, the Egyptian companies and the Egyptian organizations, even the governmental organizations, a part of the supply chain of the aviation industry in the world. So this means that we are entering and penetrating such fields step by step towards maybe more strategic goals by 2030, as mentioned and explained today by the demonstrators.
Sir, do you think the exhibition offers a unique opportunity to foster international cooperation in the aviation industry?
Yeah, because we see the international cooperation either in the type of for example, the vendors and the manufacturers of the aeroplanes itself. You see today several trends from different countries, either in the part of the spare parts and the part of the maintenance and the part of the manufacturing of the aircraft and the aircraft parts mainly. So you see international presence today of big companies like Dassault, like Airbus, like Boeing, like a lot of companies today is presenting here in Egypt their facilities and their products and their capabilities, in addition to the Egyptian companies that complement this international cooperation through protocols and through being a part of the supply chain, as I mentioned.
Well, I would like to thank you so much, Dr. Khaled Youssef, Faculty of Navigation Science and Space Technology, Bani Suef University. Many thanks for your insight. And dear viewers, now we go to check out this report, and we'll be right back with our guest here live in the studio.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian Expatriates Badr Abdelati has emphasized the central role of Egypt's diplomatic arm in advancing the nation's strategic interests, as it serves as the primary line of defense for Egypt's interests abroad. Foreign Minister highlighted that Egypt's foreign policy is responsive to its regional and global environment, whilst distancing itself from the polarization observed in the global system. He affirmed that Egyptian interests have always been and will continue to be the compass guiding priorities of Egyptian diplomacy. Abdelati stressed the critical importance of the economic role played by Egyptian missions abroad, in line with priorities and objectives of the Egyptian government. He underscored Egyptian embassies have a significant responsibility in supporting the national economy by promoting promising investment opportunities in Egypt, enhancing trade exchanges and facilitating the entry of Egyptian products into international markets in a way that reflects a positive and direct impact on the Egyptian citizen and serves to advance their interests. Abdelati reiterated that protecting the interests of Egyptians abroad is a top priority for the work of Egyptian missions in host countries. He pointed out that providing consular services to Egyptian citizens and strengthening their connection with their homeland is a core function of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He urged heads of Egyptian missions abroad to address any obstacles faced by the Egyptian communities, to maintain regular and direct communication with them, and explore how to leverage Egyptian expertise and capabilities abroad to support the country's development efforts. The minister indicated his intention to hold this annual meeting with the heads of Egyptian missions abroad to enhance communication with the leadership of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He also met with the Egyptian ambassadors abroad and newly appointed ambassadors heading various diplomatic and consular missions. The meeting came within the framework of maintaining direct and continuous communication with the leadership of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and exchanging assessments and views on key regional and international developments and diplomatic priorities for the coming year.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and with us live here at the studio is Ambassador Midhat El-Miligi, former assistant to the Foreign Minister. It's a pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Sir, talking about Egypt's foreign policy, and of course we cannot deny the role of Egypt specifically in the recent what happened in Gaza and the regional conflicts and challenges that are facing the region. So how do you assess Egypt's role with regards to Gaza?
Well, to start with, I mean, as we have always studied in political science, Egypt has been blessed with a certain position in the world, geopolitically speaking, that is in the center of the world, and actually it's in the center of the active action in the world, and that's why Egypt have always been playing a pivotal role in any regional and world conflict. It's an ancient civilization, and also it is a country that has been always known for its moderation and its balance and equilibrium between several powers. That's why we have always enjoyed trust from all our partners in the region and worldwide. And accordingly, and especially with our new republic that we are living in right now, Egypt has been increasingly playing more and more pivotal roles in the region stability and equilibrium, as I mentioned. And of course you can see this recently with the current events that is taking place, as you mentioned, in Gaza, and how all the countries, including even Israel and the United States, are counting on Egypt to try to formulate a certain initiative that could help to bring calm to the region again. We are trying our best. Unfortunately, so far we have not been successful because of the Israeli internal policies that actually the Prime Minister and his extreme right wing government in Israel have a very narrow point of view regarding their persistence of staying in power, and this will only happen by continuing waging its war on the Palestinians and accordingly staying in power as the ruling government. This have been actually it has been the major obstacle to reach a settlement to the current conflict and the loss of lives, Palestinian lives and Israeli lives as well. We hope that they will, at a certain point, listen to the voice of reason and we can reach an agreement that can bring peace to the area.
Great. Sir, how has Egypt succeeded to activate its foreign policy on the regional, African and international levels, specifically in recent years?
Well, we have to start the new movement actually with the taking power of President Sisi. He vowed himself to be more involved in African issues. We have seen him taking several trips to various African countries, from the west to the east, from north to south, and he has been engaged in so many whether conferences or other bilateral visits to several African countries. He's trying to enhance even the trade between the African countries, and he has been taking sides. I mean, he has been always speaking out about the Egyptian role in taking the voice of Africa to the world community. You've seen this when Egypt hosted the COP in Sharm el-Sheikh, exactly, and in other international arenas where he insisted on being the voice of Africa. And this is not something new for Egypt. Maybe it has declined for a certain period of time, but after the new republic, we have seen more and more engagement in the world by being the voice of Africa. We are not just talking about the Egyptian interest, but the African interest in general. Of course, as we have all known, Egypt has several circles that it's working within. I mean, we are talking about the African circle, we're talking about the Arab circle, we are talking about the Middle Eastern circle, the Islamic circle. We have various circles that we are moving in. That's why, and this is once again the geopolitical position of Egypt that is helping us to be the voice of many countries, and that's why we are involved in so many issues worldwide.
In this regard, how do you assess the role of Egypt with regard to the Egyptian diplomacy's role to settle disputes and crises, as well as maintaining regional security?
Well, of course, it's not a secret that Egypt has always been one of the most countries that is contributing in the world peace, as we call them, the Blue Berets, which is the peacekeeping forces. And based on that, Egypt have participated in various missions throughout the world, and especially in Africa. I mean, I have to say here that I have touched this firsthand since I was the Egyptian ambassador to Central African Republic, for instance, and we have a battalion of Egyptian soldiers and officers who are working in Central African Republic. Recently, we've seen the activation of also the Egyptian presence with Somalia to try to help with the unity of the country. Of course, we all know that there has been some external forces that are trying to divide this country by having relations with the separatist movement of the Somaliland, which is actually an entity that was not recognized by any country in the world except very few, and actually I could even say one only, who recognized this separatist power and even assigned an ambassador there, which is a complete violation to international law, because actually this would enhance the division of the Somali people. Egypt is trying to help there to regain the unity of this poor country that has been devastated with civil war and with various regional conflicts and so on. So our role have always been to enhance the well-being of the African countries. And I'm giving just two examples. The most recent one that I know about, but of course we have a participation in various other conflicts. When it comes to the Egyptian presence within the framework of the United Nations, you will find that the Egyptian presence is one of the most remarkable ones and the one that is most appreciated by the world community. And that's how we are trying to help with resolving the problems of the world in general. And I think that we have been very successful in doing so during the last 20 or 30 years, and especially after the current government that has been in place.
Great. Sir, as you mentioned, you've been an ambassador in Africa for a long time. So how do you assess Egypt's role in Africa before and after the current era, before and after the current regime of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi?
Well, I will say something that it might be seen as personal, but I think it's very important. At a certain period of time, even, I mean before President el-Sisi was in power, and maybe not the best subjects or the best ambassadors were chosen for Africa. But ever since he took power, and it was very important, and he mentioned this clearly, that he wants the best ambassadors to be posted in Africa. And that's why we've seen many ambassadors who are, if I may call them, the stars of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who instead of serving in other advanced countries, they have been chosen to represent Egypt in African countries. And this, of course, raised the level of diplomacy and relations that has been enhanced between Egypt and the various African countries. And I think this in itself shows the importance that President el-Sisi is giving to the African countries. I think no other president, since Abdel Nasser, I believe, has given Africa this importance as much as President el-Sisi. Even in the current crisis, for instance, with the Renaissance Dam with Ethiopia, and President el-Sisi have said that he is ready to help Ethiopia with his projects, because he is behind and he wants to be the power behind any progress and any development in any African countries. It's not just about the River Nile and our fair share of the water of the Nile, since it is an existential importance, the River Nile for us. But nevertheless, President el-Sisi from the beginning said that he is ready to help Ethiopia with its development plans, and we've seen actually this have been demonstrated not just by words but by actions, when we are helping Tanzania, for instance, to build its dam that it wants to help, and to also provide electricity for itself. I think the Nyerere High Dam is very welcome, and it's one of the Egyptian projects in Africa that shows to which extent we are committed to help our African brothers and sisters into development and reaching higher level of well-being.
Well, do you agree that Egypt has enhanced its image at the world stage when we talk about Egypt's relations with big powers, Egypt, US, Egypt, Russia, Egypt, China? How do you assess Egypt's relations with big powers?
Well, of course, I mean, we all know, and we've seen Egypt moving towards these countries. Last year we've been an effective member of this gathering of Russia and China and Brazil, the BRICS, as we all know it. We've been an effective member of this agreement, and we are already starting to work with these countries. We gained the trust of these countries as one of the biggest emerging economies now in the region. And I'm sure this is an answer to many people who have said that Egypt is not actually economically developing itself as it should. If we were not, we wouldn't have been admitted to this block of countries that are all consisting of very strong economies. If Egypt was not up to it, they wouldn't have accepted its demand to be a member of this bloc. And this shows actually that the steps that President Sisi and his government have undertaken in order to develop the country has paid off, and that's why we have been seen as an emerging power in not just in the region but in the world, one of the strongest economy that is coming. And we have seen many reports that says that Egypt within very few years will be one of the new tigers, as they call them, in the economic field. And I think this is something that is very important that we should all be proud of, not to mention that this will enable us to cooperate with more powers, especially the strong ones such as China, for instance, and Russia, and many other, and Brazil as well, to enhance our local projects and local industries, especially when it comes also to environment and green technology, which we have vowed ourselves to become one of the leading leading countries in this field. And I think that we are seeing development that are clear and concrete in the last few years, and we hope that it will continue on with the same pace until we become and we reach the level where we want to be.
Great. Sir, can we say that Egypt's foreign policy plays a great role with regards to the 2030 vision and sustainable development?
Well, of course. All this is not just 2030. We are talking even about 2050 now. There are goals that has been set to 2050, although most of us maybe will not be present by then, but this is how planification works, and this is how great countries build themselves, not just by looking at the next few years, but looking even further and try to have plans for the next generations. And I think that the idea of Egypt trying, for instance, to become the hub for green technology is one of the targets of this 2030 or even 2050 plans. We have seen many steps, concrete steps, in order to import these technologies to Egypt and to become and to foster them here, so that we become master in the region for that. I mean, if we are talking about regional development, you'll find that Egypt is becoming a leader. And I'm not just talking about African countries, but I'm talking also about the Middle Eastern countries. We have become, and we are on our way even to be stronger than that, in the field of new technologies and green technologies. And this shows that the plan is not just for the next few years, but even beyond that, when we are going to reach 2050, and we'll be ready for the new technology. The world has become a very challenging place, and if we are not ready in time, then we will have a problem. And that's why our leadership is thinking about how we can advance in these fields right now, so that in the future we will be ready to receive the newer technologies as well.
Yes, sir, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry has participated and have a great role with regards to the development, the economic development also, and attracting foreign direct investment. How do you assess this in this regard?
Exactly.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs' role with regards to attracting foreign investment.
Exactly. Several years ago, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs started to assume the role of international commerce and trade and economic cooperation. Once again, I will refer to myself when I was an ambassador in Cameroon, which is one of the largest countries in Central Africa. And it was the role of the embassy, and accordingly my role with my colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to foster and to enhance and to progress the economic relations with this country, not just with this country, and all the countries of Central Africa. And the idea was that we are assuming this role because the economy is the one link that cannot be changed. I mean, because it's based on mutual interest. I mean, politics can change, I mean, at a certain point, we had Israel was our enemy, and now we are having projects of cooperation, although that it has a little bit recessed because of the current situation and the genocide that is taking place in Gaza. However, these are politics, and in politics, things varies. But when it comes to economy, this has always been the major target of any good cooperation between countries. And that's why we are very soon going to have our president go visit Turkey, for instance.
Yeah.
I think
there's a trip very soon.
Very soon, exactly. And this trip is actually showing that the economic interest and the common interest are much more important than the conflicts that we might have, or the difference of point of views that we might have between our two countries. As we know that Turkey is adopting a certain political line that is not exactly matching ours, but when it comes to economy, we want to benefit from what they have, and they also want to have a good relation with Egypt that is one of the strongest and the most powerful and the most influential countries in the region. So because of this mutual interest, Turkey is welcoming our president and wants to have a good relation with Egypt to foster these links that I just spoke about. Nevertheless, we are still having problems, and we remain to have problems when it comes to our political vision. But we have to find, this is the role of diplomacy, is to find common ground so that we can act together in the well-being of both our countries, and not just our countries and our people, and the people of the region as well.
Well, sir, to what extent do you see Egyptian diplomacy has maintained strong bilateral and multilateral relations with world countries, which is an essential goal of Egypt's national policy?
Well, if we refer once again to Gaza and what's taking place there, and the genocide and the war crimes that has been committed and perpetrated against the Palestinian people, we'll find that even Israel trusts us to become the mediator between its government and the resistant forces like Hamas and Jihad and all these groups. The United States have faith in Egypt that it could deliver an initiative that could be accepted by both parties. Just yesterday, I believe, or the day before yesterday, President Biden himself called President Sisi to see where we reached regarding the agreement that we are crafting all together based on the original initiative that were presented by Egypt. So, as I said at the beginning of our meeting today, that Egypt has always been a very non-biased power and a very balanced one. That's why it gained the trust of all parties involved, whether we are talking about regional countries or we are talking about internationally, because we have always been driven by international law, by ethics, by respect of the world community. And because of this, we have been respected. We are not driven by any greed or any special request for Egypt in any country. Even when we look at the most recent move that has actually activated a lot of talks around it, which is the Egyptian military assistance to Somalia. You will see that this has been done with the respect of international law. The African Union have requested Egyptian forces to be there, and on the other hand there is a defense cooperation agreement between Egypt and Somalia on bilateral level. So here we see both of them in the same place, international with the United Nations. That's where Egypt is going to provide 5,000 of its military personnel to help with the United Nations peace force, and another 5,000 more or less are going to be helping Somalia internally to regain its stability and to try to calm any division and separation that might happen to the land of Somalia. And Somalia for us is a very important country. It's an Arab country, it's an African country that is going through rough moment, And here you have to understand that Egypt have moved based on a demand from the legitimate and the official power in Mogadishu. And if we did not receive this official request from the sovereign government, we wouldn't have moved, because we respect the international law. And this is what other countries maybe in the region do not understand, that we have to respect the integrity of the countries. We have to respect that there is one government, legitimate government, that is recognized by the whole world as being the official government of Somalia. And if we did not have this, we wouldn't have moved, because we respect the international law and we act accordingly.
Great. How far do you think that strengthening traditional friendly relations as well as developing new relationships enable Egypt to exercise influence and pursue its national interest all over the globe?
Well, we have a clear line. And this clear line is to respect the international law, is to respect the non-interference with internal affairs of other countries, with respect of our own national security. And these are basic principles that we have abided by through the years. And that is actually a very simple, at the same time difficult thing to maintain. And because we have these principles, many countries trust us to help them, whether we are talking about regional help or we are talking about even international, as I mentioned, in the United States, asking us to help with the conflict in, well, conflict is a little bit of a simple word, with the genocide that is taking place in Gaza, unfortunately. And not just Gaza now, we have moved to another level when Israel have decided to wage its war on the West Bank as well. And we are listening and hearing that there are plans of ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, which is Israel's ultimate dream, to get rid of its Arab population. And this cannot happen, and the world will not accept this. We have seen changes in the world position throughout the last few months, although the governments are yet not at the same place where its population are. But we have to understand that those countries cannot change their point of view so quickly. As we have all noticed, that all the countries that, or the governments that are in power were the same one who were like a few months ago when this war have started. And they cannot change their positions. Unfortunately, I wish I could just say one thing, because we've been listening to many of these countries talking about the same thing, talking about the necessity of ending the war. But I would like just to say that if you are really serious about ending this war, you have at least start by condemning what Israel is doing. We haven't seen any condemnation.
With regards to this point, sir, how do you assess the role of the international community and the international organizations like the United Nations with regards to what's taking place in Gaza and the West Bank so far?
Unfortunately, the United Nations, although it has spoken in a very clear way that we have a serious problem with the genocide that is taking place in Palestine and all this, but actually they do not have, except their voices and the legal word they are speaking about, but they do not have their own military power to enforce these resolutions, whether taken by the Security Council or by the General Assembly. And accordingly, their decisions and resolutions remain as it is written. Nothing more than that. And the countries who have the power actually to exert some pressure on Israel, such as the United States and most of Western countries, do not really get involved in this. I mean, they say very good things for us to hear, such as the necessity of ending the war, but at the same time, when it comes to reality, they are still providing Israel with arms and ammunition that is enable it to continue waging its war on the Gaza Strip. There was a very shocking number that I heard recently, and I think it should shock anyone. The United States have provided Israel with what's worth of aid and military equipment, what is worth of 40 billion US dollars, which means approximately about $1 million per Palestinian victim who has been killed. If you could imagine the number, and those are people who are totally demuned and they don't have any weapons to defend themselves except some rockets and and their souls. Actually, they don't have anything more than that. But if you could imagine the number, the United States, that's supposed to be the world's biggest mediator between the two powers, have given Israel $40 billion, which is the equivalent, as I said, of $1 million per victim of this genocide.
Yeah.
So you could imagine how serious are the Americans about ending this war. This is something that we have to contemplate and to think deeply about it. And at the same time, we know that the American administration currently is paralyzed because of the elections that is in a couple of months. And I think
the new elections.
Exactly. President Biden cannot do anything at the time because
in the American
he is
foreign
worried.
policies.
Exactly. He is worried about losing the American votes for Kamala, the actual vice president, and the candidate of becoming the next American president. So they cannot play a more concrete role, unfortunately.
Well, I would like to thank you so much, Ambassador Medhat El-Meligi, former assistant to the Foreign Minister. Many thanks for your insight and for your presence, sir.
Thank you very much.
Dear viewers, that brings us to the end of this edition of the Daily Debate. Many thanks for watching. This has been Ramzi signing off.